So I prepared few topics to share with you today. How you can relocate and invest in 2025. I will go today beyond Cyprus and we'll talk about such unique destinations like Monaco and probably Dubai, which you know very well. Just a few words about my past. Probably, as you can understand from my name, I was made in USSR, but almost 30 years ago, I was very lucky to move away to Switzerland. And since then, I used to live in many countries, including in Cyprus, Monaco, Switzerland, Germany, UK, Portugal, Norway, Czech Republic, Israel, and some others. So I have some hands-on experience to share with you about relocation and investing. I have a QR code, so you can use to find more details about me and also the link to my YouTube channel, Santa Recommends. So the first topic, just to inspire you today from the beginning, to remind you that there is a very special country in the world, very tiny, about 2 square kilometers, right in the heart of Europe, where the residents do not have any individual tax. And I would like just to give you a few ideas how you can find a plan B in Monaco. Just straight to the point, what are the main rules to apply for a residency in Monaco as a financial independent person? It's not an advice. You need to go through the whole procedure by yourself or with the help of some local professionals, but I will give you the idea what it will cost you. First, if you find a place to live in Monaco, I know it's not cheap, but you have 2 options. You can buy an apartment or you can rent an apartment. It's probably much more expensive to find the villa, but it is not so complicated to find an apartment. You need to have a 1-year rental contract, then to deposit in the local bank at least $500,000. You're not giving it away. It's not a donation or whatever. You just open your private bank account in Monaco. They use it as also as a double compliance check. And you deposit $500,000 to show that you are financially independent and you won't need any support from the government. Of course, they will ask you many questions. Monaco is very special because they ask every resident to go through personal interview with authorities. So literally they know every person who lives in the principality. We can say it's an exclusive private members club right in the heart of Europe. Of course, you will need a police clearance. You request a special visa D, to reside in Monaco. Usually it takes, 3 to 6 months to get one. Once you passed the personal interview, within 1, 2, 3 months, you get your residency in Monaco. So you can start living there, but because Monaco is so tiny, they're very advanced in controlling how much time you spend. So if you want to become a tax resident in Monaco, then you need to spend at least 183 days in the principality, and opens you fantastic opportunity not to pay individual tax. There is no tax for your income. There is no tax for your dividends, royalties, interest, whatever. You are free. So always the question is how the principality lives. They live pretty well because the main business probably today is not gambling, is real estate. So they tax real estate transactions. It's almost 6% what they charge from, as a property tax for each transaction. They charge 1% for rental contracts. And they have also a quite high VAT, what is comparable to France. So it's about 20%. This is the main sources. So they don't need to tax individuals who are living in Monaco. This is the main pros and cons if you want to live in Monaco. We can, speak about it endless, about the beauty of Monaco, what is a, great location. You're right in the heart of Europe. You can, drive to Italy, you can drive to France, you can reach by car, Switzerland, Germany, Austria, any countries. I mean, there are endless opportunities to enjoy the life in Monaco, especially if you love Mediterranean, if you love yachting. But let's talk about disadvantages or consequences if you move there. So first is a really strict control on the tax residency. And if you want to get a tax certificate, you need to spend more than 183 days. So they have all the ways to control how much time you're spending, because in every residence they have concierge who knows when you arrive and when you leave. They can ask you, to give all your bank statements for your credit cards to see how much you're spending in the principality and when. Once you enter Monaco nowadays, your mobile phone will be registered in the local cell, so they can request Monaco Telecom to see how much time you're spending and so on. So very often people, ask me the question, if I don't want to spend time in Monaco, so it's not a problem. You can stay as a tourist or just have an apartment there to enjoy the life. But once you want to have a tax residency, it will be strict control on how much time you're spending there. And I don't think that, it's smart to move to Monaco to mess with the authorities and try and, to hide. So the best way is just to go there to see if you like it. If you like this kind of very boutique style of living when everyone knows each other and you enjoy it, yes, you're free to go and apply for residency there. So another problem of Monaco, because it's so small, there are so many limitations on any kind of business activities. For example, if you want to establish a company, you will need a license for almost every activity. And some activities are very limited and very highly regulated. So you don't need to see Monaco as a place where you can easily start the business, develop it. Of course, it's possible, but you need to adjust again to the local specifics and very high regulations. So let's go to more affordable options. And where we are now, I'm now based in Cyprus. I was officially 5 years resident of Monaco. I ended up in Cyprus, and I love this place. I love this island, and I'm actually speaking to you being right in the heart of Limassol. So Cyprus is probably not on the radar for many people. If you are in Australia or if you are in North America, you probably hardly understand where Cyprus is. Probably it's a place where all the problems are with the Turks. I don't know, it's close to Iran or Syria or whatever. But in reality, it's a very beautiful island. It's right in the heart of Mediterranean, and we are very lucky to be here. So what are the advantages of being in Cyprus? It's a very affordable way to relocate to the European Union. It's a fast-track residency options. We'll talk now about unemployment or if you establish a company here. And there is a way how you can get your residency permit in European Union within 45 to 60 days. I did it by myself. I did it many times for my clients. And I can really say, it works very fast. So it's one of the lowest corporate taxes in Europe still. It's 12.5% now. And for the companies which are involved in creating intellectual properties, they have a special tax regime they call IP box. If you create intellectual property in software, if you have some patents, you really do your business in Cyprus, you can minimize and have effective corporate tax at 2.5%. There is a special non-dom regime which was invented in the UK and abandoned in the UK, but it still exists in Cyprus for 70 years. It gives you opportunity, do not pay taxes for your passive income, like dividends, interest, or capital gains for 17 years. Now there is a tax reform running, and I hope they will extend this option even more. What makes really Cyprus special and distinctive to other, destination for relocations is so known 60-day tax residency rule. Basically, there is an option that you can reside or stay in Cyprus only for 60 days and still have a full tax residency. And it's really unique in the European Union because usually you have to spend, like in Monaco, 183 days. And I see even some of my friends who moved from Monaco to Cyprus and they say, look, we can't really compare Cyprus. to Monaco, to Marbella, because of the, Dubai, but we can stay here 60 days. We can have a full tax residency in Europe and still enjoy our life being in other countries. You can still spend time in Australia, in the UK, in Switzerland, in Spain and Greece, and being fully tax resident in Cyprus. And there is accelerated path to citizenship. And I think it's very interesting topic to keep in mind, because on one hand, we all love our countries. And if you're born in Australia, you're Australian, you don't really think, okay, I need a second passport. But if your country becomes your main enemy and trying, to hunt you everywhere in the world and to force you to pay taxes everywhere, from everything you're doing, then it's probably smart to have not only one passport or second or the third, especially if you want to live in Europe and enjoy all the benefits of the European Union. And then there is a way how you can get a second citizenship here in Cyprus. So let's talk about the options of getting residency in Cyprus for third country nationals. And if you're coming from Australia or Northern America or even UK nowadays, after Brexit, you're a third country nationals. And there are more stricter rules compared to people who were born in the European Union countries. So the one of the most well-known option is permanent residency. Sometimes they call it just PR, or it has a special category F or even paragraph 6.2 in the law. But this gives you a chance to get the permanent residency for you and your family members in Cyprus for lifelong. If you invest 300,000 euro in property, and then you have to pay plus VAT, or you can invest in one of the investment funds, regulated investment funds. And I really advise you to watch the video on my YouTube channel about regulated funds in Cyprus, which invest in the medical property. And it's very straightforward option to get your residency by investing only 300,000 euro without VAT. You need to show a stable income depending on number of your family members. But if you're applying by yourself, it's 50,000 euro a year. You need to show it for the first time. And you need to visit Cyprus at least once every 2 years. So we are slowly coming to the situation where we need to understand what is a residency and what is a tax residency. You can have a permanent residency in Cyprus, which gives you an opportunity to come here and to live how long you want. But if you want to have a tax residency, then you have two options, or 60 days rule, or you spend 183 days. So the second option, what I actually use, and also Adam shared his experience, in our interview, you can watch on my YouTube channel, and residency via employment. Or you can be employed by any company here in Cyprus, or you can create your own company. If you want to set up a company here in Cyprus, it's a very easy process. The only headache is to find the available name. And I had this actually discussion with a guy. He's a very well-known developer. He's Cypriot from Paphos, and he created a company, Couture Homes. And I asked him, why Couture? Why you kind of use the Finnish name? And he said, look, I want to call my company Cube, but it was no way to find, the available name and the registry. So it's a really pain, let's say headache, to find the available name in Cyprus registry, because it's so popular and so many companies are registered in Cyprus. So once you set up a company, it's a straightforward process. You will only enjoy it and benefit from it. So it's highly recommended. The only thing is, if you want to employ third countries nationals, you need to invest in your company 200,000 euro. Again, it's not a donation or whatever tax. You can use this money to pay you a salary, to spend for real estate, to rent an office, to do your actual business. But you need to transfer 200,000 euro, so you will get the right to employ any third country nationals. You can easily avoid it if you have some friends or you have someone who is ready to employ you in another existing company here in Cyprus. You don't need them to create your own one. So the only requirement is to have a minimum salary of 2,500 euro, and probably every month you will pay 700 euro, 750, some, social charges, some tax related to it. So the actual time at the moment, we need to understand what the difference is, because originally the idea was to incentivize investors in Cyprus. And if you invest 300,000 euro in permanent residency, they give you a kind of fast track. So you could receive your residency permit within 2-3 months. Unfortunately, because of high number of applications and, let's say, a little bit outdated systems, it doesn't work. You will wait nowadays probably 1 year to get physically your residency card. So if you are applying as a key personnel or as a director of your own company, the actual waiting time is about 1 month. Then you need, of course, to do some medical tests, blah, 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 to prepare the documents. So that is why I indicate 45 to 60 days is the minimum proceeding time to get your residency permit. And it was very funny because I was interviewed many times. I did myself also, all the paths. And I said, look, we are doing it for clients. It's super fast. And I'm waiting already 4 months my residency card. So I was stopped by the border control and they say, where's your card? I said, look, I'm still waiting. They said, it's already issued. I said, when? Like after 1 month already last year. So I had just to find it physically, but the system works very well. You can get your residency within 1 month. So you need to have a registered address again in Cyprus. You can rent or you can buy. The prices are still affordable. Maybe Cyprus is not cheap anymore, but it depends on your lifestyle. If you're in Limassol, it's comparable to European cities. It's not cheap anymore, but if you want to enjoy just a quiet life and kind of spend less, you go to Larnaca, you go to Paphos, you go over Proteras, and it's probably 30 to 40% minimum less of prices of Limassol. The only issue is, again, if we compare permanent residency and employment visa, as a permanent resident, you need to show up in Cyprus every 2 years for several days. But if you're employed here, you can't leave Cyprus more than for 90 days. So basically every 3 months you have to come, even for 1 day, just to show up here in Cyprus. There is a third option, is a temporary residence, pink slip. But we don't really use it for ourselves or for our clients. The problem is that you have to extend it annually. It's very slow. Usually the processing time about 6 months. You have a headache to speak to the local banks. And you need to stay with this visa at least 4 to 6 months a year if you want to request it. So it's not so efficient. That is why we prefer the first 2 options to use for residency here in Cyprus. So pros and cons. So the main advantages of Cyprus compared to other countries: 60 days tax residency rule, 0 tax on dividends, interest, capital gains straight away. It's top jurisdiction for tech companies and investment companies, accelerated naturalization options for tech professionals and key personnel, and more affordable compared to other locations. And what makes Cyprus, for me personally, unique, it's probably the only place where you can still do your business and enjoy high quality of life and pay almost 0 tax. And if you ask me what's the difference with Monaco, Monaco is about prestige, about, social connections, about level of people who will live with you next door. But to run a business in Monaco, it's probably more difficult than in Cyprus. If we talk about France, Spain, there is no way to run your business. It's better to stay away. Even in Portugal, this is actually a problem for many Americans who move to Portugal. They love the lifestyle, but once they start to do business there, they say, look, it's not really an ideal destination for business development. So in Cyprus, you can have both tax, business, and lifestyle. So what is the really disadvantages of Cyprus? The banking system. And again, it's a pain. Let's say it's a headache. So don't really rely on Cyprus banks. It's better to use Australian banks, American banks, Swiss banks, or big European banks. Revolut is now a very popular option, but not local banks. They're still not in Schengen zone. Who needs it? But for Australians, it's probably not a question at all. But if you need the Schengen zone, hopefully next year they will join it. In Cyprus, we don't have public transport or very limited. Sometimes it's hot summers and occasional dust storms. But again, we are in the heart of Mediterranean. We used to live with this, and you need to have a car. It's not so popular compared to other well-known destinations. So that is why my suggestion is just to come to Cyprus and to explore it. But again, it's more about business than only for lifestyle. For lifestyle, you can do to other places. And bureaucracy, yes, it's part of our life. Because you asked me also to share some ideas about investment opportunities, and I want to talk about some investments in Dubai, and probably not the way what everyone else usually does. So Dubai is very known. When you come to Dubai, you probably buy or plan any properties. You expect the prices will grow. Not always. Dubai went through several cycles when, the prices went down significantly. You can buy a finished unit to rent it. Okay, you can expect 6-8% per year. But then it's also the question of amortization, the quality of the developments in Dubai. Sometimes it's questionable. And some people are trying to flip their properties, but it really requires a lot of time, experience, and to be hands-on. So a company I know for almost 20 years now, they developed a very interesting approach on investing in Dubai. I would love to share with you. So let's think, what is the most efficient investment strategy in Europe nowadays? It's a private credit. If you not really invest in properties, but you lend money directly to developer against real estate, you have a higher, yield, and then you can stay and see how the things are going. And in the end, you can decide to take your money back, or maybe to give an option, for the units they build. The only problem is that private credit, or all this, let's say, bridging strategy, it does not work in Dubai. Sometimes it's against the Sharia law because it's a different culture. Sometimes, just solid local developers that don't want to borrow the money against such a high, interest, and they to prefer to find different ways to find the money. With the company Tranio Capital, I worked for 20 years, they found a very interesting way how to leverage this strategy. So not to give money, not to lend money to the developer, but to buy a land, to pay cash, and to give this land to well-known developers and get the units back. So usually for the well-known developers, it takes 2.5% to sell all the units, and you have a very clear, strategy to exit your investments. It's just to wait when the building is over and get your money from the developer straight. Or you take the units and to sell it at higher price when the building is finished. I filmed our first project in Dubai, and now it's done in Motor City of Dubai. Now we are just delivering it. Just in 2025, we started 4 new projects and invested in land. And we offer an option for a smaller developer to invest not the full amount to buy, a plot of land in Dubai. Usually we are talking about 40-50 million US dollars. We find a way how you can pool investors starting with 1.5 million US dollars, wait 2 to 3 years and get at least 15% per year return on your investment. And because we do not have so much time to talk, to go into details of this strategy, I can organize you a video tour of some of our projects we already did, or to organize you a private visit just to show the land we purchased in Dubai and gave to the local developers to develop.